Well, welcome everybody. This is Eric Lofholm, and I love it when we get to gather as a community and hear from one of our brilliant community members. Today, we're going to have an opportunity to hear from Ankush Jain, and I'm going to read to you a little bit about Ankush. He is a life and business coach and consultant, proud father, published author, podcast host, and public speaker based in the UK. He's the founder of the Powerful Men's Immersions, which are the best personal development programs for men in the world. Clients fly from all around the globe to work with him, and he is amongst the most successful coaches in the world. He has a waiting list of people wanting to work with him. Ankush also coaches other coaches to grow impactful, ethical, and sustainable practices, and is the founder of the hugely successful AJC Coaching Career School, which quickly sold out after it launched. And today, the topic, the title is Changing the Consciousness of the Planet. And Ankush, thank you for joining us. I'm going to turn the Zoom over to you.
Hey Eric, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this webinar because I don't even know what I'm going to say. So we'll see. So it's kind of a lofty title, right? Changing the consciousness of the planet. And so I want to start by asking everyone just to put aside any preconceptions they might have around that, around the language and the words. And my request is to really listen to what I'm saying from a place of having it mean something to you, having it change you, have you be different. Because I promise you, if you do that, you might hear stuff that I didn't even say that will really serve you and make a positive difference in the world. And my aim for this presentation is not to teach at all anything really, but hopefully to share and inspire people to really make a big difference in the world. And I think everyone that is signed up to this is, I'm assuming, would love to make a positive difference in the world, a positive difference on the planet. So that's where I'm coming from. So if you listen to this from a place of what's he got to say, you're gonna miss that. And I don't say that because you should put me on a pedestal or anything. I'm saying put yourself on a pedestal. Bring your best listening to this, and you'll get a lot more out of it. Secondly, I can't say anything about shifting the consciousness of the planet without acknowledging a few people. And again, don't switch off at this bit. Like, oh, all right, he's going to go through the acknowledgements of it, and then we'll get no. This is it. This is the juice. This is important. And firstly, I want to acknowledge you, Eric. This has really been a co-creation. You've been a huge stand and supporter for me putting this message out in the world. You didn't need to do that. And for people who don't know, Eric's been doing so much work in the background. It's been very little of me to create this content and this presentation for the community. And I really honor that. I really appreciate that. Please know I see Eric as just a fantastic, incredible leader for the being movement, and we have got other things in the pipeline that we may or may not talk about today, but I look forward to working more closely with him. Secondly, someone somehow let him in the room. That is Mr. Steve Hardison. I love you, Steve. I got to acknowledge Steve. If we go back 2 years, right? So just 2 years ago, I just had my first session with Steve, a Be With session. I wasn't intending to do much more, certainly that year, which shifted. But at that stage, there was no one on the planet that I'm aware of. Nobody, not my parents, not my wife, not my coach. And I love all of those people. This isn't knocking them, but there was no one that saw the possibility in me to the level that Steve did. I mean, if you went back 2 years in time and said, "Hey, Ankush, in 2 years' time, you're going to be talking about changing the consciousness of the planet," I would have thought you've been, smoking something. It just was so far beyond my reality. So, I want to really acknowledge Steve for being a catalyst for seeing something in me. And again, this isn't about me. My hope is that people look at that and think, "Wow, if Ankush can do it, then I can do my version of this." And Steve's been saying in everything he does, this isn't about him. Anyone can have what he has if they just be who he is, or be, have the shift in being. And I'm really an example of that. So again, please take that for what it's worth. Take that in you, and be open to it. Um, the other person I need to acknowledge is my wife. She's not here right now. With me. She prefers not to be in front of the camera. Um, but I, I cannot adequately explain what that woman does to enable me to be on this mission. She's simply incredible. I'm flying to Phoenix on Sunday to speak at the Being event that's happening in 10, 12 days time. If you haven't got your ticket, get your ticket. Um, in Phoenix, and also to have some more sessions with Steve. And there's a lot that has to happen on this end for me to be able to do that. For example, she has to go into work, which she leaves at home at 5:30 in the morning. She doesn't get home till 7 p.m. She normally does that 2 days a week. The last 2 weeks, she's having to do that 4 times a week because she won't be able to do that next week. I mean, there's a lot on her, and they say behind every great man is a great woman. Well, I don't know if that's true, but I feel very, very fortunate and blessed to have my wife Yamini in my life to enable me to do this. And without her, none of this happens. So I can't really say anything until I adequately acknowledge her. And I want to acknowledge all of you. If you don't show up to this call, well, it would just be me and Eric talking amongst ourselves. Which is wonderful. But thank you for being open to hearing something and turning up here. I appreciate you taking time out of your day, um, and giving me the gift of your time, which is something you can't get back. Um, so what is this whole thing around shifting the consciousness of the planet? What's that all about? Well, let me take you back in time to 2022, and I had a conversation with Steve Hardison. We had a coaching session, and Steve said to me, "Hey, Ankush, I read a lot about world leaders, and you remind me of someone." And he said, "You remind me of Mahatma Gandhi." And I'd never been called that before. I'd never been compared to someone as great a leader as him. And frankly, I didn't know how to tell it. Um, and when I've told this story before, sometimes I've made a little joke about that. I'm not going to joke about it because that was kind of me just using humor as a defense mechanism. I genuinely was just, I didn't know how to take it. It was such a big thing to be compared to someone who's made such a big difference in the world. And at first I said, I don't know if I want to have that, but Steve, Steve, he believes in the possibility he sees in his clients, no matter what they see, and he stuck with it. And then he kind of expanded on it and said the impact that Gandhi had on India, you're going to have on the world. So I was like, okay, great. Now he's turned it up even more, right? And frankly, I didn't know how that would happen. Like, what? Like, it was I didn't know how to take it. And then in 2023, at some point, I had a conversation with Steve Chandler, who had been my coach for 9 years, or just under 9 years. And he said something to me. He goes, "Ankush, you know Steve Hardison calling you and we abbreviated it to MG, which stands for Modern Gandhi." Um, and he said, Steve really sees that. he really sees you as MG. And it wasn't like I didn't believe what Steve said, Steve Hardison said, but I don't know, Chandler saying it in that way, it just really landed. It's like, this is real. This is a real thing that Steve Hardison sees. And I knew how important integrity is for Steve, as in he doesn't say things he doesn't mean. And I started to open up to this possibility of little old me, which is how I saw myself, not really being little old me, and stepping into that possibility of, well, what would it look like to really be MG? And what would it look like to really be my document, which is a set of declarations that Steve and I co-created in 2022, and just really up that. And I realized I would need to be my document more. Now, still at this stage, I had no idea how I would have the impact on the world that Gandhi had. And I realized I didn't need to know that. I just needed to know the next step. So the next step is step into being, expand my state of being, shift that. And I started to see areas in my life that if I was to be MG, those would need to change. For example, I couldn't shift the consciousness of the planet, which we'll come on to, but I couldn't be MG if I'm arguing with my wife and getting caught out in petty things, little things that really are, like they say, don't sweat the small stuff, and it's all small stuff. Now, that wasn't to say I was kind of flying off the handle all the time, but I was like, no, there's a different way I could be with my wife to embody MG. There's a different way I could be with my parents and siblings. There's a different way I could be with my nutrition. There's a different way I could be with exercise. There's a different way I could be with money. And so on and so on. And I just started to see all these areas that if I saw myself as the potential of MG, then I would be showing up differently. And not from a place of I had to, not from a place of judging myself, not from a place of should, but from a place of possibility. And I just started leaning into that. So this was happening kind of, I don't know, March time 2023, and then into the summer. One of the things that I do, as Eric pointed to, was I run a school for coaches. It's something that I created in 2022, and there are a lot of coaches in this community. One thing I see in the coaching industry was I love coaching. I love it. I love the impact of it. I've been coached in various ways for over 2 decades. It's had the biggest positive impact on my life than anything. I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I wouldn't be who I am without coaching. There's no way. And often people see the last bit of my journey. They come aware of me for a year or 2 years, and then they go, oh, yeah, great. Yeah, coaching's had an impact. You don't know where I've come from. If you saw the guy I was when I was 19, you wouldn't believe it. You wouldn't believe it. I've had lifetimes of what normal people have as personal development to even get here, which is amazing to me. And I see that despite this industry and this profession being such a positive force for good in the world, a lot of coaches are struggling. And I was really lucky and honored and blessed to work with Steve Chandler, who had an amazing school in America to help coaches ethically, make money and do so in a sustainable way. And we worked together to create my school in Europe. Well, I'm starting the second school. I'm doing it's 3 weekends. On the first weekend, and again, like here, I didn't know what I was going to say. I had some ideas of I'll talk about this and this. And I stood up at the front of the room, and I didn't know I was going to say this until the words came out of my mouth. And I said, We are not here to make you better coaches. By the end of the school, you will be much better coaches. We are not here to help you make more money. And you will be making more money by the end of the school. And I'm sure that one raised a few eyebrows, because I'm sure there were a few people in the room thinking, hey, I signed up to this thing to make more money. And what I said next is, we are here to shift the consciousness of the planet. It was the first time those words left my mouth. I'd never said that before. And it wasn't even me saying it, it came through me. What I said is that I know of no other profession that can have the biggest shift on global consciousness that coaching has. Because when a coach works with a client, they are not just impacting the client. They are impacting every single person in their world. So when I invest in coaching, and most recently I'm investing in my coaching with Steve, it's not just Steve who benefits. It's not just Ankush who benefits. There are so many people. Everyone I am connected to is benefiting from my investment in coaching. Every single person, my neighbors, literally. I'm a nicer neighbor. I'm more a generous neighbor because of my coaching. My wife massively sees huge changes in me, and she says it. My son is going to grow up with a different dad. And even this is not just down the road, even now, he is getting a different parent because of my investment in coaching. All of my clients, my friends, my siblings, I mean, there are ripples. And I've said this, coaching can be so powerful that great coaching can impact children who haven't even been born yet. It will be generational impact. So we've got this amazing profession. Now, I'm not knocking any other professions, but in my opinion, I don't think medicine or politicians or lawyers or any other profession can have the impact on global consciousness that coaching can have. It just doesn't seem possible to me, and it's not even close. So what I said is, that's what we're here to do. We're here to raise global consciousness. And it just so happens the way we do that is by propelling the industry forward, by propelling the profession forward. What seems to be the thing that is stopping the profession moving forward is that coaches are struggling to make an income sustainably, ethically, in line with their core values. But that's not the point of the school. That's just the how-to for right now. Again, at that point in time, I didn't know how I'm going to do that. I didn't really have all the how-to steps. But I knew there was a knowing in me that this is the direction I need to move in. 100%. Now, the other thing that I said, and again, this is happening, it can sound a bit woo-woo. This is happening through me. The other thing I said is, I am not going to do this alone. I cannot do this alone. So I got 36 coaches in my school, and I said, I am enrolling each and every one of you into this vision, because we do this together. It's not just me. I go out and I'm, a knight on a horse, and I'm like changing the consciousness of the planet. No, we will do it together. And I said, I see every single person in this room and in the profession, by the way, as a peer, as a colleague. I said, you can all refer to me as a peer and a colleague. I don't need to be put on a pedestal. I don't need to be put in charge of something. We are all global leaders. And my commitment is to each and every one of you to show up as a global leader. Now, I had no idea at that point in time, if I used my intellect and logic, how I was going to do that. And I knew it didn't matter. One of the things Steve has taught me is the power of language is language creates. And I had seen enough of that to keep moving forward. Well, some interesting things started to happen because as I started to speak it, people in the room started to show up differently. People in the room started to articulate, well, you know what? I've come here and I want to maybe make more income, but really, I wanted to do this. Really, I wanted to do that. If I could really do anything, and they've started speaking bigger and bigger visions into the room. So now, fast forward a few months, and we're at the second module. This is in November. And it's literally been 2 months, 2.5 months, not a long time. And we've moved from being a group of coaches attending some kind of training to a group of global leaders. And again, I'm using language to create every single person in the room as a global leader, but it's not just made up. It's not wishful thinking. People are starting to show up as global leaders. They start catching it. They start seeing it in them. Not only that, and this isn't about me trying to promote my school. I'm doing this with everyone because I realize something. This is about being. I can either be, hey, I'm going to be for everyone who's paid me money, or I can be for the profession. And I realized I need to be for the profession. I need to be for the planet. So in the midst of all this going on, I start speaking this vision to anyone and everyone. And any coach I come across, I let them know. My mission is to change the consciousness of the planet through changing the profession. If I can help you to do that, just let me know. And I mean it. And this is people who have got, maybe they've got their own coaching school. Maybe on some level, someone might see them as a competitor. I'm not seeing them as that anymore. This is too important a mission to be worried about that. And there's nothing to worry about. And I start enrolling people in this vision. And one guy starts, shout out to Nick Bottini, right? We say Nick is going to change the consciousness of the planet through changing the music industry. This guy's an incredible man, an incredible coach, very well connected in the music industry. He starts showing up as that. Dave Kibbe, I don't know if Dave's on the recording today or he's going to watch it afterwards. Dave starts speaking. He said to me in January, you know what I really want to do? I want to end homelessness. And I also want to end racism. We have Dr. Ronnie Bora, who said she wants to change the paradigm around mental health to mental wealth. And I might not be articulating the words right, but everyone starts showing up as that. And what I started to notice, I went in a very short space of time from, I don't know how I'm going to change the consciousness of the planet, right? To trusting that to now seeing, oh, everyone that I speak to, they change the consciousness of the planet. And the reason I'm doing this presentation today is I want to wake people up to your version of that. And it's not just simply a macro thing. It's at the same time a macro thing and a micro thing. What do I mean by that? I mean, if you want to change the consciousness of the planet on a macro level, like you really want to be a global leader, like some of these people are saying, you cannot do that unless you shift your own state of being to that of a global leader. And I start asking myself questions. I had a former coach who said to me, the quality of your life is dependent on the quality of the questions you ask yourself. And it's been really interesting because I've started to ask myself different questions. So, for example, I go and stay in a hotel. or I go and visit a restaurant, and stuff started happening that never happened to me before. I started having interactions with the owners and the people who worked in these places that had never happened before. Stuff that I would have thought happened to Steve Hardison, right? To other people, but it started happening to me. And I started asking myself, if I was Mahatma Gandhi before he got known as Mahatma Gandhi, or I was Nelson Mandela before people knew him as Nelson Mandela, or I was Martin Luther King, or anyone, any person who's had a global impact 20 years or 10 years before they got known for that global impact, and I went and met someone 10 years later, when they see the person on the TV, they're going to go, I met him 10 years ago. And they will say stuff about that person. Oh, I met Nelson Mandela before anyone knew who Nelson Mandela was. Let me tell you who he was. I knew then he was going to be a great man because da 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 da, i.e., who he was being. Someone told me that Muhammad Ali used to say he was the greatest, not when he won his heavyweight title. He was saying it way earlier than that. He created himself through his language. He was being a certain way, which led to the results he had. And so this is a micro level. You want to shift the consciousness of the planet, shift your consciousness, and you will be changing the planet. You start treating your spouse better, you're shifting the consciousness of the planet. You start loving your kids more, you're shifting the consciousness of the planet. And insert anyone or any situation there, you're shifting the consciousness of the planet. And it's not about just doing it when it's easy. I've been having lots of conversations with people about this. It's easy to love someone, like it's easy to love my parents when they're loving me, right? And they do love me, and I have such a great relationship with them. And sometimes they are concerned for me. And when they're concerned for me, and this has got nothing to them, it's me, I might see it as challenging to love them in that moment. But if I come back to my document is I am loved and I'm loving, then I return back to they are coming from a place of loving me and caring for me right now. And I will communicate different. I will be different with them. That's shifting the consciousness of the planet. It's the same time, the micro and the macro at the same time. Same thing with your spouse, same thing with your kid, same thing with your neighbor. Can you be kind, generous, loving to your neighbor when they're getting upset about something that you think is a minor infraction, or when they're being unreasonable in your mind? And it's not because you have to, it's not because you should do. One of the things I say is, I am not being my document in some way every single day. There'll be some way that, and I know I never see that as a bad thing. I see it as great. I found another opportunity to grow, another place to step into that. The document for me is so rooted in love, self-love, and self-forgiveness. And that's to me being part of MG. That's to me shifting the consciousness of the planet. If one of my messages is be kinder to yourself, wow, can you imagine if that message really got out into the world? But I got to live it first. I can't share anything with anyone else if I'm not living it. And that's not letting me off the hook. It's like I find the more I am being loving self-forgiveness, the more I'm growing at a rate of knots. And my fear was, oh, if I'm being too kind to myself, I won't learn. I'll keep it. It's been the opposite. I don't make the same mistake. I grow and I grow and I grow. So what's the future hold? I really don't know. And to me, that's very exciting. It's very exciting. But what I do know is I'm going to keep speaking this vision out, utilizing platforms like this that Eric has kindly invited me to. And I'm going to keep enrolling people to join me in this movement. And you can do it in whatever way you want. So my way very much is through my school and shifting the entire coaching industry, and I will do that. You can bet on it. And at the same time, I'm being a massive stand for every single person who, in their own way, wants to shift the consciousness of the planet. I can't remember who said it, but never underestimate what a small group of committed individuals can achieve. I think it was a Christian preacher or something in America said that, and I really see that. I really see that. You're watching this. That's you. It's you. It's not someone else. You are just as much of a global leader as I am. You're just as much of a person who can shift global consciousness as me. Cannot be done by one person. So I'd ask yourself to look into your heart and see, is this resonating with me? Can I see this? Can I do it in my way? And you might be doing this in your business. You might transform your industry through the way you do business through love and being different. You might not have anything to do with coaching. You might shift an entire generation because you're a school teacher and you totally shift the paradigm in your school that you're teaching. It's not a small thing. My shifting the consciousness of the planet could simply be down to how good a parent I am because I parent a child who has got such high self-esteem and knows the right values that he goes and shifts the consciousness of the planet. I'm not hedging my bets. I've got many irons in the so-called fires, and I just see it's inevitable when I operate from that place. So I hope this is helpful. And I'm really open to taking any questions that anyone might have. If you want to ask anything, um, Eric said I had 30 minutes to 60 minutes, and I'm just really speaking from my heart.
I'd love to add a few words here on Cushion. Beautiful message. And I just really acknowledge your growth. You know, when you grow and we can see your growth, it helps us grow. And Steve one time made a comment to me, you lead like Abraham Lincoln. I have not yet fully embraced that at the level that you have with MG. So I really acknowledge how you showed me something really powerful. I was able to learn through you as you were sharing about being in that space. And I just really loved your message. And one thing I want to encourage all of you to do, we are going to put today's message on YouTube. And I'm going to listen to this message, listen and or watch it 7 times. And the reason I'm going to do that is I'm going to get it at a deeper level because there was some incredible wisdom shared in this session. And so I want to encourage any of you that feel inspired to commit to listening or watching this 7 times to really get at a deeper level what Ankush was sharing. And I also am committed to supporting Ankush's message of shifting the world in the way that he wants to. And I messaged him that in a Facebook message with a lifelong commitment to do that. And I want to encourage all of you, if you're resonating with what he's sharing, not only can you benefit yourself by taking what he's teaching and applying it in your life, but help him get the word out and support what he's up to and the way that he wants to impact the world, because that's the way it's going to be realized. It's not just going to be Ankush sharing the message. It's going to be a group of people like us that get behind that message and get that message out to the world. So as you come across that YouTube video, it'll be up on the Being YouTube channel. I encourage you to share it on your social media, share it with your community, because this man has an amazing, amazing message. And I love how he role models fitness and being a dad and being a husband and a great businessman. And so Ankush has opened it up if anybody would like to share. So I'm going to take he and I off a spotlight, put us back in the gallery view. And if you'd like to share something, if you want to hit the hand raise button, the virtual hand raise button, and we can have some shares here. And Ralph, you're up first, and the tech now is where you can hit the unmute button. Come on out and share, Ralph.
I just wanted to acknowledge the beauty and the congruence and alignment of Ankush. Likewise, I've had the privilege of just coming across Ankush through a friend, Robin, many years ago. And I just wanted to acknowledge that I've seen the shift. So having followed Ankush, I followed coaches that have worked with Ankush, and I've seen the shift in those coaches. I get excited just to go on Facebook each day and see the growth. And I wanted to finish by saying I'm on board. I'll find my own way, but it's just a really beautiful, and just once more, the clarity between your thought, your being, your action, and the congruence of it all, Ankush, is why I signed up to the first program that you were a part of that I could afford presently. And I've no regrets. So, and thank you to everyone in the movement, Eric, for putting it together, and the fact that, you know, the people that each coach is coaching, so the people that Steve is coaching are impacting. You know, I could mention others. It's not about name dropping, but Kasudi is one that's impacted me greatly as a young man. I was a youth worker, and to find someone younger with such power and clarity that I can refer my son to because he doesn't want to listen to his dad. It's just a beautiful thing, and it's like the gift that keeps giving, and I can't wait to contribute and give my own gifts. I appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph. Is there anybody else that would
Thank
like to
you.
share? If you want to share, you can hit the virtual hand raise button, or you can just do it the old-fashioned way. Okay, Nisha, your turn.
Thank you so much, Eric, and thank you so much, Ankush. It was really powerful. Uh, as you was sharing, I just wanted to share how Ankush's one conversation really changed so much in me. It was the power of acknowledgement and power of language. Are you able to hear? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So there was a conversation with Ankush, and he was coming, I think, after his session with Steve, and Moritz was also there with him. And then he said, "Isha, do everything, but do it in a deeper way." So it was power of acknowledgement. Deeply acknowledge your husband, see how and things are changing. Now here before everybody, and I think the space is very apt to say that things were not so great at home. So when he said deeply acknowledge and, kind of see and say to your spouse, start with your home first and see how it's changing and what's happening within you. It changed so much. Changed so much. And I have to say, he made me to realize I have acknowledged, I always acknowledge everybody, but the level of deeper how you go inside and acknowledge someone, everything changes in the other person as well, in the way how they receive it, and how I have been able to say that. And with that, I even reached out to one of my cousin who was like very far away from me, and I didn't even know that he would be helping me with my journey of coaching. And when I said I wanted to be a part of AJC school, can you help me? Without a wink of an eye, he said, "Yes, I will." he transferred everything, all the money, and he said, I'm supporting you in this. And after that, he says, are you sure this will help you? I need to speak to Ankush. Are you sure? And I'm like, oh, what happened here? Okay. So I connected him with, and Ankush spoke to my brother. Later, my brother called me up and he said, you're in good hands. I really see that there is a power in what he's saying, and I'm very sure you're going to bring that into your community. And that is what the shift that Ankush was bringing in. My brother, he doesn't know my brother. He's working as a doctor in London hospital there. Nobody knows like how we got connected, but then he could feel Ankush there. He could feel what he was doing. And that's what I wanted to share here. Like, this is so powerful. Ankush, I will do everything what I can within my community here and spread the word across. And I see so much of things that's been shifted here. Because when people see me, they say, and openly say, this is because of all the work that my coaches have helped me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
so
Nisha.
much.
Ken, it's your turn.
Thank you. Ankush, this is my first time hearing you, and it's definitely not my last time hearing you. I just want to share with everybody, I was meant to be here. I was meant to, ever since I became a life coach 3 years ago and wound up with being in this being world from the beginning, first of all, trying to find out the information about it and growing into transformation, who I am as a life coach today, based off all of this. And the other day, if you all got a chance to see it, Steve had shared a photo of a book that says, you must read. And that was The Butterfly Effect. Now, I've heard about that growing up, and my last recollection of it was that, scientists say that if a butterfly flaps its wings in Brazil, it will cause a hurricane in the United States. That's what I've known it to be. But Steve, I did buy this book. I did read it through and through, and my wife is currently reading here. And to change my perspective of what it all meant is that exactly what is happening right now, the butterfly effect of what you started to get onto Ankush, to get onto Eric, and to get onto everybody else here to create this beautiful global wave of trusting and love and being. And I'm part of that. I don't show up anymore to just listen for information and then see if this is something that I want to do or learn, or if it's going to do me good. It's something I'm going to be living. And Ankush, you said this, you brought up your document so many times. And I practice what Steve has, I read about in the Book of Being, about how Amy got on and recorded a message of his document to it. And I recorded my own voice in my, every morning that I sit and I do my meditation. That's the first thing I do, is I hear my document and I say my document. And then I listen to my wife saying that. And I am at the point right now that when I deviate from that, I immediately notice that. I immediately noticed that, and the words out of my mouth is, I'm not living my document. I am in this world to change it consciously as well. I am part of a small micro love that is going on right now. And I was meant to be here today to hear your word, because your word is from the word of Steve. And like everybody else is here, and you're sharing the butterfly effect to me here. So you asked, Eric asked, I need you guys to see this, share this 7 times. I'm going to say 7 times 70, because this is a message that needs to get out to everybody. And this starts the consciousness of what we're here to do. And that's just to change the world of how we could love and how we can be, and do it one person at a time. So thank you so much, Ankush. I love you. I love each and every one of you. I'm so glad I'm being here. Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And I love hearing you, those of you that are sharing about spreading this message that Ankush is sharing. And I love, Ken, what you were saying about acknowledging Steve, because Steve's had a deep, profound impact on my life. And I would message him after I would give a speech, and he was speaking through me. And I don't really message him that much anymore, because it's like every day. every day Steve's speaking through me to the people that I'm connecting with, and he's having such a big impact through so many of us as we're out there sharing with the world. So Ken, thank you so much for your share. Rafael, your turn. You're on mute there, Rafael.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Eric. You always got my back. I love it. People don't know, but it's every day it becomes more apparent. Thank you for making this call at a time when I can actually attend. I don't often get to show up on calls, and I'm so happy I got to catch this one. And Ankush, I love what you shared, and I'm 100% on board with everything that you shared. And I actually had a question for you, Ankush. In this mission, I know that who we're being is everything, and the shift starts with us and how we're showing up to each and every person in our life. So if I would, you did inspire me with a sort of mission along what you were sharing. If I want to change the consciousness of a group of people, and I think you did touch upon it, it's not in the how to, it's when you're being and you're showing up, these things show up with you. When I want to change, let's say a community or people in my community, which so far I've seen, let's just say I'm the only one who's on board with this, with the work that we do and the loving, and that's how I react. How would I go about changing the consciousness of people? If I do think it is on me to say I judge them to be closed-minded, or I judge them to not be open. But what would you say is there's got to be something other than, stop believing that, because I show up, I try. I'm just laughing at Steve laughing at me. I could show up as me, and I keep putting myself out there like that, and I'll have the conversations with everyone the same in my community and out of my community. But I really want to have a bigger impact on the people within my community, and I don't see how to do that when there's so many kind of, I guess, different beliefs, either belief systems or what we're sharing here. It's very easy for someone who has read the book, who is in the being movement, who just live, right? Just try living from love for a day. We experience that, we know that. Introducing that to people that's so foreign to, it's so weird. It's like, I love being weird, but that's not something I can get other people on board with. So do you hear what I'm asking?
Well, let me share a little story with you, because this is real for me, right? And look for the gold in this for you. I've wanted to see a shift in the coaching industry for many years, like probably 10 years. This is not a new thing, but it was always someone else needs to do this. Someone else needs to do this. Should be different. And one day, my coach at the time, Steve Chandler, we were running through a Byron Katie worksheet. And I had some judgment on a coach. There was a coach in particular. And so I took that to my coach and I said, look, I'm not seeing something around this person. Can you help me? And so we did a Byron Katie worksheet. And if anyone's done a Byron Katie worksheet, you know that the part of the process is you turn the judgment around, you turn the wording around. And so I was looking at the opposite of my judgment, and I didn't see one of them. And my coach said to me, one of the turnarounds of this, or sorry, one of the opposites of this is I judge other coaches. And when I saw that, I was like, man, he nailed me. He called it out. He was bang on. And where I was coming from is I wanted the industry to change while judging every other coach out there. They're all part of the problem. They're not open. They should be like this. They should be like that. And my coach didn't even say anything. Steve didn't even say anything about this to teach me per se, but his way of being, I could tell, was he didn't judge other coaches. He loved the industry. And that started to get in me. Now, I would say that part of this journey of shifting this industry, part of that journey was me shifting my judgment. How can I change the profession of coaching if I'm judging the profession of coaching? How can I shift coaches if I'm judging them? Which, by the way, 9 times out of 10, if not more than that, is self-judgment. So a lot of judgment I was holding against other people was really judgment, anger, whatever, against me. It was some version of I'm not enough. And part of the reason I refer to the document so many times in this presentation is that's been the antidote. That has really been the foundation. I mean, Steve promised me this. He goes, the document is going to be the foundation of anything we build. We don't have the strong foundation. We can't build on top of that. And it's really true. I'm so glad we did it that way around. Because the foundation piece has been dropping all the judgments I was holding against me. Like, just, there was so many. And what I started to find is, oh, as they fell away, lo and behold, my judgments of other people started to fall away. Now, I'm not saying I never have judgments. I'm human. The mind judges. And yet they've not got solid ground to embed themselves anymore. And they fall away much quicker. And as they fall away, you know what? I'm much better at making changes in the world. I'm much better at influencing people. I'm much better at helping people. I'm much better at encouraging people when I'm not judging them. And it doesn't matter what the content of the judgment is. It really doesn't. It used to look super important to me of what I was judging someone for. I would try and convince people, hey, yeah, I know I shouldn't be judging him, but look what he's doing. Look what he's up to in the world. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. It doesn't, like, I'm not saying never. So, don't try and look for where this falls down, but look for the essence of this. I would ask myself, if I were you, where am I judging myself? And by the way, I really acknowledge anyone who does this work, because this is not easy work. It's deep work. It takes a high degree of self-awareness and willingness to change, to look at these, and me too. And I'm not talking about 2 years ago. I'm talking like every day. There's always more to see when I'm upset or judging or whatever. Like, okay, where's this in me? Where is it deeper to go? Does that help?
Yeah, I think I hear you there with the one looking at, I can't help people if I'm judging them on any level, and bring it back to, where am I judging myself in this? Thank you.
So as you guys listen to this 7 times, that little 6 minutes Ankush just shared, that's $10,000 in value right there. So you just listen to that 6 minutes. How I consume content, when I hear a gem like that, is listen again and again and again to really hear. I mean, that was very, very deep what was being shared. So Ankush, thank you for that wisdom.
Thank you.
Sasha, it's your turn.
Hi, everyone. I wanted to share, so thank you, Ankush, for sharing for talking really from your heart. It was funny because I didn't think I'd be here tonight, not that in the universe, but I was kind of like, well, should I go? Should I not? And then I kind of, I thought, well, I've kind of committed to it, so I should go, and didn't really know what I'd get from it. But I'm going through quite a difficult moment in my life where there's lots of change happening, and I've had a very clear heartfelt vision myself, and I felt recently that I've lost that, and I feel very connected to it now, you know, and that vision is to really kind of help, well, it's to help leaders, I think, lead in a more loving way, but in a more sustainable way for themselves and for others. And I think it's interesting, you know, I feel a lot of love and openness here in this virtual space. It's amazing how you can create that energetically. And I felt really kind of compelled to share, I guess, that I love the fact that, you know, the micro macro, and I've kind of written down almost like this infection and kind of contagion that you're kind of creating on an energetic level, you know, whether you call it butterfly effect, those are kind of the words that came to me. And I think in my situation, my something will change, but then other things will come from that change, you know, there's a possibility. And I think, you know, where I was fearful before, you know, I kind of let the fear come in sometimes. So I find that, I guess, hard to keep on being brave. And I can see bravery in you. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Please, please keep speaking those words, Sasha, about what you're up to, and watch how the world responds. Watch how the universe responds.
Thank you, Sasha. One suggestion I have for all of you, if you're connected to the Being Movement through social media, whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram or the Facebook group, share in the group, make a post about how much value you got out of this call, and letting people know if you missed the call, make sure you catch the recording. And people will see that and they're like, oh, wow, I gotta make sure I watch that call. And that will really impact them. And they can have the gift that Ankush shared with us today. Steve, your turn.
Good. Am I on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Rafael, are you where you can hear me? I see your picture. Are you still here?
Yes, I can hear you, Steve.
So I love you very much. I want to just say, I want you to know this. You may be unaware of it, but the impact that you're having within your specific community that you're talking about is way more than you would believe. You're just unaware of it. So I want you to know that that's actually occurring. You heard Ralph earlier speak about Kasudi, that some people may know or may not know, but Kasudi will never know the impact that he had with what he said to Ralph, and he now just shared with us. That's happening with you. You may just not be hearing it. And I love what Kush shared with you, because if you'll do that, what you'll know is you'll know it's already happening. And it's even being spoken to you, and it's not hearable from judgment. You shift that, watch what happens. You will realize that. Now, I have a challenge for you and anyone else who wants to listen to this short conversation. I know your heart. You've made a huge difference in my life more than once, and you may not know that. Sometimes I try to tell you that, or that you know that. I let other people know that you made a huge impact in my life. I'm part of your community. And the one you're specifically talking to, there is no way you can be in it and not make a difference. Now, I have something for you, because I heard you speak about, to Kush is like, okay, now what do I do with this? Tell me, okay, how do I be in this community like this? I'm inviting you to get a book. I promise you, if you read it and you apply it with the intellect that you have and the state of being you have, it will alter your community and you and your community.
I'm listening.
Will you get it and read it if I tell you the name of it?
I'm committed to getting it, Steve.
Will you read it and apply it?
Yes.
The Gentle Art of Blessing. You read that book from who you are, you apply that to yourself and your community, you will see miracles. I love you. Thank you for being a miracle in my life, the difference you've made. Thank you, Ankush, for taking the time to create with this whole group. I admire you and I love you. Thank you, Eric, for the leadership that you are. And thank you guys for letting me take a moment to say something.
Thank you, Steve. All right.
Those makes me cry like that.
We've got time for one more share and then any final thoughts that Ankush would like to share. Okay. Yogesh, if you want to share.
I think just quickly, it must have been some kind of coincidence that I looked up my mailbox and saw this session, and I said I'm gonna go on it and listen in. And what a absolute blessing this has been. Blessing to first of all hear Ankush and the way he spoke about his life and the way he's changing the world, and actually internalizing the words that Steve has left him with to be the change in the world and be the next modern Gandhi. I'm sure he'll change lives and make a huge impact on the world. So, Ankush, thank you for sharing that. And I'd also like to say thank you to Steve. I read the book, The Being, last year. I read it while I was on a coaching apprenticeship program. And ever since I read that book, I don't think I've been the same person. I've tried to be more gentle with my coaches, but I've also tried to be more gentle with my family and everything. Um, and something has been slowly shifting. At the same time, I've also realized the kind of beliefs I need to have within me for me to make the most of my talents. For long, I felt that I've got the talent, but I'm not utilizing it fully. But when I hear the words today and when I hear the words of blessing from people like Steve, I feel like there absolutely must be no reason for us to stop ourselves from who we could be. And thank you very much for sharing that. And Steve, forever thankful and grateful to who you are and what you do, and through you, how you're changing people like Ankush and people like me and several more. Thank you.
Thank you for your share. Okay, Ankush, I'm going to turn it over to you for your final thoughts you'd like to share with us today.
Just thank you everyone for your attention. Thank you very much for listening. And something just occurred to me to share with you in the last kind of half an hour or so, very short. We've talked about the power of language, right? We've talked about the power of language. I said to Sasha, keep speaking her vision into the world. It creates. I invite you to speak out loud these words. I am a global leader changing the consciousness of the planet. I'll say it again. I am a global leader changing the consciousness of the planet. And in true Eric Lofholm style, say it 7 times. If you keep saying that, you will step into being it. And just like me, you don't need to know how, you don't need to know what's happening. It will start to show up. Just speak that. And one of the things I found is the bigger the vision I speak into the world, and it's not about me, the easier it is. The easier it is. You stop speaking this and making this be enrolled in this movement, man, watch the blessings that will be bestowed on your life. And you're not doing it for that. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming today. It was wonderful to have you. Ankush, thank you for delivering an incredibly powerful message. You've moved this Zoom room and those that are watching live on Facebook. I look forward to connecting with all of you. If you're going to be in Arizona, Ankush and I and Steve will see you there. And have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to all of you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you all. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Love you, everyone. Love you, Steve. See you soon.
Bye-bye. Love you, Alex, in London. You're my dolly bird.
Thank you, Ankush. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks so much, everyone. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Ankush and Eric and Steve and everyone. Thank you so much and many blessings to you.
Thank you, Ankush.
Lovely to see you, Amrita.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Ankush and
everyone.
Eric and Steve and everyone. Thank you so much and many blessings to you.
Thank you, Ankush.
See you, Amrita.
Thank you, Ankush and everyone. Thank you so much and many blessings to you.
Thank you, Ankush.
See you, Amrita.
Thank you, Ankush.